Hello gentlemen, and welcome to another video. We're back. I know I took a little hiatus, there was the holidays, and then I hurt my back doing something stupid, and now we're back to videos. So hopefully going to upload on a regular basis here. Let's get into it. Today we're talking about intermittent fasting. Now you've probably all heard about intermittent fasting. It's kind of a buzzword now, right? Intermittent fasting this, intermittent fasting that, it's really good, it's really bad, etc., etc. I'm not a medical authority. If you want more medical knowledge, more scientific information, go to those people, do the research. I've done some research, so I will talk about those things because I wanted to know what I was doing before I got into it. But this video is about my opinion and my experiences, how it's affected me, not necessarily how it is going to affect you or whether you should or shouldn't. It's just my opinion and what I currently do. So, intermittent fasting. Let's go over 5 things that I consider to be good and 5 things I consider to be bad. So the pros and cons, in my opinion, kind of give you a short list. So, number 1, it helps with fat loss. If you're trying to get rid of fat, in my opinion, it helps a lot. There are a number of reasons. One being, it's just hard to eat that much food in a shortened window. If you're prone to overeating, you can only hold so much in your body at one time. Now, there are some people, myself included, who can just chow down on food. So for them, that might not be the biggest thing, but for a lot of people, you can't eat that much food in one sitting, and so shortening that feeding window helps with that. It's hard to overeat. The other thing it does is it gives you a longer period of time where you are in a fasted state, intermittent fasting. So in a fasted state, your body is more prone to using the reserves of energy, the fat storage on your body, than other things. So if you are doing cardio or just a workout while fasted, your body will burn the fats inside of it, not necessarily the fats on your stomach, but there's a thing called lipid fats. They're inside your muscles. Those burn, and as those burn off, your body has to replenish them, which uses the fat storage on your body. So it's a little bro sciencey, but it does actually work. Let's move on to number 2. So number 2 would be the hormone changes that the fasted state brings. When you are doing intermittent fasting, it does increase your testosterone and your growth hormone levels. I can't speak today. That seems to be a trend. The growth hormone levels and testosterone levels rising not only help you keep what muscle you have if you are cutting or build muscle if you're bulking, but they also help you burn fat because both of those things not only increase metabolism but help you increase muscle mass, and muscle mass increases metabolism. Therefore, you burn more fat. Now, don't worry if you're a guy or gal and you're worried about getting too big or you're worried about getting more masculine. The testosterone and growth hormone changes aren't going to do that. They will help with your fat loss and they will help with your muscle growth, but it's not going to, you're not going to start growing beards, or your voice isn't going to drop 2 octaves. That doesn't work that way. So don't worry about that. Let's move on to number 3. This is getting awkward. So the third positive thing about intermittent fasting, in my opinion, is you have more energy. I have more energy in the morning because I'm not eating, and during that time I have a higher functioning ability because I'm not digesting food. Now, food is energy, and you would think that you'd have less energy because you are ingesting food in a shorter period of time. But because you're not digesting, your body is running off of the reserves it has, and I find that I'm more concentrated, have more energy, and I'm more focused on the things that I'm doing, which is great, by the way. Now granted, I am ingesting water early in the morning. First thing, hydrate. It's very important. For those of you who don't hydrate, hydrate. And after the water, not before, after the water, I am ingesting black coffee. Now, black coffee doesn't break the fast because there's no calorie in it, and that caffeine on the empty stomach really gets you going, lots of energy. It's a lot of intense focus for that period of time, which lets you get a lot done. Now, if you ingest the coffee on an empty stomach without the water, it can be bad for your stomach. You might have heard things about that, where the acid's in your stomach. If you ingest water before, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Drink 2 cups of water before your cup of coffee, and it'll be great. Remember, it's black coffee. If you ingest anything like sugar or cream or milk or anything like that, you're ingesting calories and you're breaking your fast. So that's number 3. Now, the 4th thing that I like about intermittent fasting is that when I'm not eating in the morning, it's not a concern. I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not doing anything breakfast or food related, which means that during that morning period, I have more time and more focus to do the things that are important to me. I can go work out. I can handle those emails that I really need to send out. I can do the things that I would like to do that aren't involved in work or family or all the other obligations that we have. So it gives me this little window that I can play with and do the things that are really important to me that I want to get done and not be worried about food or eating breakfast. Now, the first couple days, it's uncomfortable. I have to admit, you're not eating in the morning, you're hungry, your body's used to it, but after a couple days you get used to it and you're not worried about it anymore. Alright, so let's go on to the 5th positive thing, and then we'll go to the not quite so positive stuff. Alright, 5th thing, number 5. 10, 5. The biggest thing for me about intermittent fasting is that when you're on a cut and you're trying to burn off fat, one of the biggest things is you slowly have to eat less and less and less food as the cut goes longer and longer. And after a while, you're not eating all that much food and you're hungry, kind of all the time. Well, with intermittent fasting, you don't eat for that window, and your body's used to that, so you're not hungry. Then you get hungry and you can put all of your food into that little window, which means that you get to eat bigger, more satisfying meals. And it kind of feels like cheating just a little bit, because you're eating a big meal and you feel full and you feel happy and you move through the day with this feeling of like you ate something, not I had some celery and some raisins and I'm still hungry, but you actually ate a real meal, and so that feels really good. It makes the cut so much easier and it makes it more enjoyable, in my opinion. So let's get to the 5 not quite so great things, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with my opinion on fasting. Okay, so the 5 things that I consider to be negative sides of intermittent fasting, starting with number 1 is breakfast foods. I happen to love breakfast. I love waffles and pancakes and all the other breakfasty things. Well, not only is breakfast kind of a morning thing, but if you're having breakfast foods at like noon, 1 o'clock, whenever your fast ends and you're ready to eat, it's not quite the same. Not only is it hard to get those if you're eating out, but if you're making them at home or something like that, it's just, you're not doing it with the same feeling you would if you were doing it in the morning. You're not eating breakfast with family or friends or whatever, your significant other. You're just eating pancakes at noon, which to some people sounds awesome, and to others it just doesn't have the same feeling. So you miss out on some of the breakfast foods, things like that, which I really enjoy. But ultimately it's a small sacrifice, and if you're okay with eating waffles and pancakes at noon like I am, then you'll be fine. No worries there. So, second thing, when it comes to intermittent fasting, there's definitely a period where you have to get used to the feeling of not eating. And that can be hard from a physical standpoint because you're hungry. That can be hard to stick with during that period of time, and for some people it takes longer than not. The coffee helps because it is a hunger suppressant, appetite suppressant, so you don't feel as hungry when you're drinking black coffee. But if you're not drinking black coffee, or if it doesn't have that same effect on you, then that can be a little bit difficult to deal with. Also, there's the social aspect, because you're not eating breakfast with people, or people are going out to eat or something, or even if it's a brunch, it's 10, 11, and you're not eating because you can't eat until noon, 1 o'clock. It just takes some getting used to. Go with your friends somewhere or whatever, and you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs while everyone's eating. It's not that bad after you get used to it, and people usually understand just fine. Sometimes they even join in and everyone's kind of doing it together, but you kind of have to just stick with it. If it's important to you and your body is important to you and this is something you want to do for yourself, then you gotta pick yourself up and say, we're gonna do this, and stick with it. Have the discipline to stick with it. Alright, we're gonna go on to number 3 right now. Okay, the third thing about intermittent fasting that I consider to be more negative would be that if you can't eat a lot of food all in one sitting, then you're going to have a little bit more difficulty with it. This ties into the pro that we had earlier, which is you have to eat all your food in a window. So if you don't have a time in the day where you can fit that much eating in, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Also, if your stomach is smaller and you're not able to ingest as much food as you need in one sitting or 2 sittings, then you're going to have to eat lots and lots of little meals during that window of feeding. Because if you can't, force feeding yourself is not enjoyable, and you don't really want to do that. You can. I have. It's just not a lot of fun. So if you have trouble eating during that period of time, that much food, I can see that being a little bit of a difficulty. I personally don't have that problem, but after speaking with people and reading about it a lot, that's something that can be difficult. So, on to number 4. This is something that is a personal pet peeve of mine about intermittent fasting, and it drives me absolutely insane. Forgetting to eat. And yeah, that sounds stupid, but it's something that I do, and it drives me nuts because I love to eat and I love food. So when I'm intermittent fasting, sometimes what will happen is I will be busy. I'll be doing things, and I'll have that hyper focus, coffee induced thing going on because I haven't been eating, and I'm getting all kinds of stuff done, and I'm having a great time with it. And by the time I realize what time it is, it's already 4 o'clock, and I haven't eaten at all, and now my window to eat food is 4 hours? 3 hours? And that's where the forced feeding comes in that I talked about earlier. It's not a lot of fun. It drives me nuts because I love to eat, but I just get so wrapped up in what I'm doing that I forget, and it's kind of stupid and embarrassing, and that's a me problem. So if you don't have that problem, if food is always on your mind and you just need to eat the moment that you can, great. It'll work great for you. But for people like me who get too focused or wrapped up in what they're doing, set a timer or do something to remember to stop and eat, because sometimes I just get so sucked in that it's bad. Alright, on to number 5. Alright, the 5th and final thing about intermittent fasting that I consider to be not so great is it's hard to do when bulking. You get a lot of benefits from it. You get the increased testosterone, increased growth hormone, and it's easier to maintain a lean bulk where you put on less fat while building muscle. You still put on some, but not nearly as much. It's a lot of positive things, but I find it's hard to bulk and intermittent fast because my metabolism is so ridiculous. It just does not care about my feelings whatsoever. So I have to eat a lot of food anyway, and then when you add on that I'm eating in a surplus to build muscle, and I'm eating in a window, even I have problems eating that much food in that period of time, and you start to lose the enjoyment of it. At first you're like, wow, I gotta eat an entire box of cookies and a whole pizza? That sounds awesome. But when you have to force it into your face and you are full and you've got 3/4 of a pizza and 6 cookies to go, you're kind of not looking forward to it, and it's just not enjoyable. Add on to the fact that I forget to eat sometimes, and you got to do that in 2.5, 3 hours. You see where I'm going with this. So it's a process. It's a thing you have to get used to doing. It's a change in the way you live and eat, because eating is a big part of our lives. So if you can work around that and you can create a system to make it work, great, go for it. I find it really hard to do when bulking, so I tried it. It went all right. I don't know if I'd do it again for bulking, but when it comes to doing a cut, I think it is fantastic. I'm doing it right now. Just moved over from the bulking into the cutting phase, so I'm gonna shed off some of this fat from the summer, and I'm using intermittent fasting to do that. I enjoy it. I do fasted cardio in the morning, which means I just do my half-hour cardio without ingesting food before that, and I'm ingesting my coffee in the morning. It's great. I love it. Works fantastic in my opinion. I don't think I'm going to do it again for the next bulking phase. That's just me. Other people it works just fine for. I just find that it's really difficult to do with my metabolism and the way that I eat and tend to forget to eat. So there you have it. That's my opinion on intermittent fasting. Let me know in the comments what you think. It is early in the morning right now, and I'm a little jazzed up on the coffee and haven't eaten anything. So that might be why I'm speaking too quickly. Also because of previously mentioned speaking issues, which I'm doing right now. So that's it. Have a good one, guys. And I'm glad to be back. I will see you again next time on The Leading Man.